Good morning, church. It's good to be with you here today. And today we are going to look in Numbers chapter 20 at that horrible event where Moses loses the opportunity to enter into the promised land. The people are complaining again. They say, man, I wish we would have just died with our brothers rather than have to sit out here and be thirsty and worry about thirsting to death. I wish we could just go back to Egypt, anything but what we have right now, because it just seems miserable. And so Moses goes before God and says, what should I do? And we get a similar reaction as before. Remember when they first were complaining, God said, take your staff, strike the rock, and water will come out of it. This time it's different. Verse 8. Take the staff and assemble the community. You and your brother Aaron are to speak to the rock while they watch, and it will yield its water. You are to bring out water for them from the rock and provide drink for the community and their livestock. So Moses took the staff from the Lord's presence, just as he had commanded him. Moses and Aaron summoned the assembly in front of the rock, and Moses said to them, listen, you rebels, must we bring water out of this rock for you? Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff, so that abundant water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust me to demonstrate my holiness in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this assembly into the land I have given them. These are the waters of Meribah, where the Israelites quarreled with the Lord, and he demonstrated his holiness to them. A couple big problems here, right? Number one, the Israelites are complaining again. It's understandable because they're thirsty. They're concerned they're going to die. There's no water in sight, and there's a multitude of them, a huge number that it's hard to fathom, at least 1 million. Some estimates say up to 2 million people floating around here, no water. What are you going to do with a 2 million person size crowd? How do you tend to them? And they say, man, it would have just been better if we had died, because we don't see how this is going to go well. And then we have the testing of the Lord. They should have remembered, and they should have said, Lord, we trust you. Please provide for our need. We believe in you. And then Moses goes against God. Listen to what he says again. Listen, you rebels, must we bring water out of this rock for you? God's probably saying, who is we in this situation? Are you doing anything, Moses, other than obeying me? And then they struck the rock. Why is this such a big deal that they did it this way? One, they're relying on the way things were rather than how God wanted them to do it now. We do the same thing. God might give us a new direction, a new way to operate, but we want to operate in the way that we're used to, that we're familiar with. And two, God gave him a direction. This is how you're to operate. David had a similar kind of odd experiences with how God told him to engage battle, but he actually always listened to God when it came to that. And it was odd things like when you see the sound of footsteps in the tops of the trees, then go. When this sign happens, then go. And he would always do it. The other issue that we have here, Paul brings some light into this scene in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, and it says, they all drank from the same spiritual drink, and they all drank from the spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. Paul is seeing that there is, in some way, that this rock that Moses struck was Jesus himself. Maybe this is because of the way that Jesus is referred to as the living water, that living water will flow out, that he's the provider. But whatever it is, Moses struck the pre-incarnate Christ in the form of striking this rock. And God says, you are not upholding me as holy. You didn't trust me to do what I said I would do. And that's the big takeaway here, is in our life, we have to trust God. We have to do what he says, even when there's times it doesn't seem to make sense to us. We have to trust him and uphold his name as holy in our actions and in our lives. And we do that through obedience, doing what we are commanded to do. Leave some of your own thoughts and your own comments. We didn't even touch on Mark chapter 5, which is full of amazing miracles. The resurrection of a little girl from the dead, and the demon legion driven out into the pigs. Share some of your thoughts on those things here below about what it meant then, how we can apply it to our lives now. And I just look forward to talking to you again soon.